My name is Carolyn, and I talk to the spirit world. Travel with me to a dimension filled with love, light, and joyful surprises. Welcome to Carolyn's Psychic Playroom. Hello, everybody. Carolyn Wilkins here, and it is my great pleasure and honor to welcome you to yet another edition of Carolyn's Psychic Playroom. And today I have a fabulous guest for you. This man is so talented, so musical, so powerful, and I'm honored to say he is my colleague at Berklee College of Music. He's a composer, he's a performer, and he is a psychic medium as well. His name is Andrew List, and you're going to be meeting him in just a few moments. But before I go into the interview, as always, I like to share a little bit of just spiritual information with you. As you know, we have just finished the season of Easter and Passover, and it is now sort of a real feeling of spring and new beginnings in the air. I'm sure you have noticed it, and even if you are watching this later, for example, I'm recording this in the early part of April, but it may be mid-April or even later before you actually get to watching it. So that's fine. I feel that this whole month, I want to talk about the energies of this month because there's definitely a feeling of shift and of onward and upward with this month. We've all been locked away for so long, and it's been a very difficult and challenging winter in many ways, but I feel that there's a greater sense of optimism in the air for April and a greater sense of possibility. This is a time when things that you may have been sowing for some time are finally going to come to fruition. They're going to burst out of the ground, and there's going to be new possibilities and a new level of awareness for you, I feel. So what I would like to do is to use my Andinkara cards. These are cards that contain the sacred symbols of Ghana. Those symbols are called the Andinkara symbols. And these particular cards, someone got the bright idea to put on each card a separate one of the Andinkara symbols. And each one of those symbols has a message, and it speaks of a characteristic that can either be good or bad. And I'm going to pull 3 of these for us today. And I want you, as you read them, to think about how they will apply in specific to your life. I'm not going to give you, obviously, an individual reading, but this is a group reading, and I'm pulling the cards with the intention that whatever shows up will be applicable to the group as a whole. And then you can take a look and see how these qualities are playing out in your own life. So I'm going to take the cards, I'm going to shuffle them a couple of times. Once. Let's do it again a couple of times. I'll give you what I feel to be my interpretation. I'm asking the cards, what do you see are the 3 qualities that me and my friends here in the Psychic Playroom will need to develop over the next month, just to think about. What are the qualities that will be most helpful for us to think about? So now I'm spreading out the cards, and I'm going to pull one. The first one that comes to mind here is Providence. Hopefully that card is not reversed in your view, but it may be. And in any case, it says Providence. And what I feel about that card is that this is a card that's saying good luck is on the horizon for you. As I was mentioning before, there's a general greater sense of optimism and feeling of excitement about things finally moving forward. And this is due to what I would call grace or providence. We just have to connect with our inner spirit, however we view that, and understand that spirit is always moving in us, even if we cannot always see the results. And now this spring, I feel that some providential events are coming your way. So this is good. Second card that I'm going to pull is Justice. Justice. Once again, I feel that this may be something that you have been waiting for some time. This has been a very difficult year. There have been a lot of issues, both public issues and private issues, around the whole subject of justice, injustice, people doing things and appearing to get away with it. And what this card is saying to me is that, in fact, according to the law of karma, nobody actually really gets away with anything. We all, sooner or later, are responsible for our own lives and for our actions. And according to our actions, we will reap. And it may not be apparent even to anyone else, but inside things are going on. And if you believe, as I do, in subsequent lifetimes, then this long arm of justice continues even further. In any case, even in the short term, this month, and especially in the next 2 weeks until I see you guys for my next podcast, justice is going to be coming up strong in your life. So just be on the lookout for that. Okay, last card, and that is Prudence. Prudence, see there? So prudence means being careful. Don't just, I know I've said, oh, good things are coming, Providence is coming, we are being blessed, it's spring, it's lots of outgoing, wonderful, expansive energy. But at the same time, the Andinkara is telling us we need to always be wise. Don't just take foolish risks. Don't just jump off into something without really thinking about the consequences. And as they say, don't tempt fate. Just because things are going well doesn't mean you want to just be ridiculous and foolish. So, keeping in mind our 3 cards, Providence, grace, divine grace is going to be on our side and helping us to achieve justice in our lives, but at the same time, we need to be prudent. We need to be careful and not risk things foolishly. So those are my predictions for the next 2 weeks from whenever you watch this until you watch my next program. And now that we've kind of had that, I hope you'll sit with that a little bit. Feel free to contact me with questions or comments always about the reading. You can write to me at psychicplayroom@gmail.com, or you can visit my website, www.carolynwilkins.com, and write me an email from there and let me know how this sat with you. Meanwhile, it is my great pleasure to introduce to you Andrew List, and I'm going to share that interview with you right now. Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Carolyn's Psychic Playroom. I'm so excited for my guest today. This is someone that I have been following for several years and have finally had the opportunity to sit down and have a one-on-one conversation with. He is my colleague at Berklee College of Music. He is also a fellow spiritualist, and he is also a fabulous composer. And I will also add the teacher of several of my students who have raved to me about him and about all the things that they have learned in his classes. So please give a warm welcome to the amazing Andrew List. Thank you, Andrew, for being my guest today.
Thank you for inviting me, Carolyn. I'm really looking forward to our talk.
Yay. So, yes, I've been tracking you forever, and I know that you are a medium and a spiritualist. And so I'm going to start, since our program is always about that connection between spirituality and creativity. I'd like to start with your work as a spiritualist. I know that you're a medium. Can you tell us a little bit about how that journey was for you? How did it begin?
Well, when I was a child, I consider it a gift, Carolyn. I consider it a
Mm.
gift from God. And when I was a child, I could always sense that there were things going on that other people I don't think saw or heard. And when I was a kid, it used to have people in my room. And it did scare me in the beginning, but after a while, I got more and more. Oh God. After a while, I got used to it basically. And then later on in life, I mean, I think I kind of forgot about it and I was in a kind of struggle with most of my young years and didn't really know that I could reach out and ask for help or feel connected. I didn't feel connected and I think that was the problem. But later in life, it really called me back and I feel very connected. I can hear things, I can see things, I sense things strongly. And I always felt like, even my whole life, I always felt like I had something to say to people. That's really how it began. I just had a positive word I wanted to say or something I wanted to tell somebody.
Isn't that the truth? I can totally relate to that. And the whole thing of people in your room. When I was about 4 years old, I had this whole thing about there are people in my closet, and I had that, and it was terrifying to me. I was, and of course, my parents doing the thing that well meaning parents do. Oh, there's nobody there. Look, we're opening the door. See, there's no one up on that upper shelf. And I'm like, yes, there is. I can see them. But yeah. And so tell me a little bit about you now, what you're doing with your spiritualism. Did you go through, as many mediums do, did you actually proceed through a course of development, or did you sort of self teach yourself this work?
I would say a combination of both, but then later on in life, it was in the 90s. I mean, I was always going to church. I always had a strong belief in God and a connection. But there was this other part, the spirituals part, and a friend told me about the spirituals church in Watertown. So I went and it really felt right. So I would go to regular church in the morning and spiritualist service in the afternoon. And I just started taking some classes. I would sit in we call it a circle where people get together and we ask each other to, see what you can feel. I mean, and as artists too, we feel so much. We're so connected to that. So it wasn't so foreign for me. And also being able to talk in front of people as a teacher makes it very easier in some ways. And I took classes and started to get better and started to do services and was invited different places. And it's been about over 20 years now.
Wow. And you just said a mouthful about this whole thing of um, as teachers, because sometimes I look back at my life and I think, I was being prepared. Like you, I did not really go full force into mediumship until much later in life. But all along, as I look back, being a teacher, as you've just pointed out, wonderful preparation for many professions, but certainly anything involving public speaking and this and being able to explain things to people
Yes.
and so forth. And the other thing you mentioned about music being, I want to say, I feel like music is almost a natural channel
Yes.
that if you have, and I'm sure I'm about to ask you this, developing yourself as a musician. Um, Tell me a little bit about that. When did you first start playing an instrument, and tell me a little about that journey for you?
It's been a lifelong pursuit. My brother, I would say as a child, I took piano lessons. Anything my brother did, I wanted to copy. But I didn't want to practice, of course.
Of
But
course.
piano lessons and flute lessons, I was going to be a flutist in the Boston Symphony.
Wow.
And also, but one time I went to our high school had the St. I'm from St. Louis, so the St. Louis Symphony would come to the high school, and I heard them playing some quite modern music, and they said this is what it would sound like if all of the instruments did different things, and they improvised, and that was it. I immediately knew that was going to be for me, and it's been a long time, getting good, but basically, composing, I've stuck it out in all these years. And but I do feel like there's this inspiration thing that works with it in tandem. In the beginning, I didn't know so much about that. It would come to me on and off, and sometimes it was good, and other times it wasn't good. But now I actually know how to get closer to the source. I'm the conduit for where the music comes through. I mean, Stravinsky said, I am the channel for which the Rite of Spring was given."
That's right. That's right. And what you just said, I know that many people who watch this program are themselves artists of one kind or another. And what you just said about knowing how to tap into that source and open yourself to be a clear channel. Do you have tips? And I know you do because you're a teacher. Um, do you have tips for people who might be struggling in this area to develop further in terms of a clearer, more consistent channel for the creative energy?
Well, I think there's practical ones and then there's some more ethereal ones. The practical one for me is, well, this is I don't, it's probably all in tandem. Let me just say this. I never just sit down and start working without preparing myself. I sit quiet. I try to clear my mind. If you can sit quiet at least 5 minutes a day, starting like that, and letting things, it's about allowing. It's not necessarily, yes, it's about doing, but it's about allowing. And sitting quiet and just listening. If you're an artist, sit quiet and just see it. See if you can see it in your mind. If you're a poet or a writer, listen for the words. The words will come to you. So I do, try to sit quiet. I don't have any kind of, it's not a special kind of meditation, but I have certain things that I do. Another thing is ask for help. There's nothing wrong with it. I used to do this every day. I would say before I went to bed, and I said, "Thank you, God, for this day, and thank you for everything that happened, and my health and everything. Please, thank you for the music. Please help me have the music again for tomorrow." That's all I had to say. Please open the door so that the music will come to me tomorrow. And then when I wake up, I was kind of ready to go.
That's beautiful. I love that. It's so simple, so elegant, and yet so uh, productive, I would say, because once we take it out of our own ego concern of, oh my gosh, well, I wrote this great thing yesterday, but who knows if I can do anything
Uh,
today? And that was yesterday. Maybe it was just a fluke. Maybe I'm not really that talented. Maybe this was my one shot and I shot my, a whole thing and I don't have
right.
anything left to give. That concept that you're just bringing up is a way to cut through all of that and get right to the core of the truth. So that is beautiful. So now I'm curious, and I'm sure my listeners are curious tell me a little bit more about the kind of music you write and where you do it, how it's performed. Just tell us a little bit about the kind of things you're working on now.
Well, I've had some really interesting projects. I feel very grateful that my career is starting to move forward. It was going really well before the pandemic, but it's still going well because,
Good.
once I got over the fear and stopped feeling sorry for myself a little bit, I decided that, what can I do? What can I say at this time? And I do feel like, and I even tell my students this, we bring beauty into the world, Carolyn.
Oh,
It's all about
preach.
bringing love and beauty into the world, however that comes through us.
Mhm.
And I may not know. I mean, sometimes I can sense when composers are with me. You might think it's nuts, but I feel Beethoven. Really, I do. Leonard Bernstein a lot. I knew when Stravinsky was there at one time. I just felt it, and I was writing this bassoon thing, and I said I heard Stravinsky, and got really teary because I got really emotional because I had this feeling that I'm in the presence of the love energy of the universe, and how it comes through. So I've been really fortunate. I mean, I just finished a piece. I'm very interested in ancient Egypt, and I now have a concert series. I have 4 pieces inspired by ancient Egypt. The last one is for countertenor, viola, and piano, called "Going Forth by Day," which is what the ancients called the Book of the Dead.
Ah,
They didn't call it the Book of the Dead. They called it "Going Forth by Day" because they believed day was life and night was death, and the sun would die every day and it would resurrect every day. And they totally believed in reincarnation,
of course.
as do I, of course.
Yes.
And so the idea is that there's this wonderful series that I'm just getting off the ground. I have 12 etudes inspired by the Egyptian Zodiac, which I couldn't believe I found and did. They're character portraits of the gods. A piece about spirituality called From the Heart of Ra, which is about the different levels of spirit, how the ancients conceived of the soul. This one is, and it's in 6 parts. This one, the last one, is called Going Forth by Day. And there's a piece for viola, which are kind of hymns to the earth, hymns to for solo viola. And I have another piece that hopefully is going to be called a dialogue of a man and his soul. I
Wow.
haven't started it yet, but it would be kind of like a monodrama. So I wrote a piece for the Boston Symphony last year that did not get premiered, and
Because of the COVID
because of the COVID,
situation.
but we're hoping that sometime it will. It's called the Emerald Necklace. There's a lot of my music is on my website, andrewlist.com,
Mm.
LIST. On my SoundCloud page, you can just go to SoundCloud. On YouTube.
Mm.
So I'm writing a piece now. I just finished a piece for a wonderful local violinist, Lilith Haratunian. About her, she wanted to have a piece that was her experience of feeling cut off from her community
Wow.
because of the pandemic,
Mhm.
and finding a way to feel completely cut off, kind of alone, going through the emotions, but then finding joy through darkness. So that's kind of what the piece is. I'm in the last section of that. So that will probably be on YouTube and presented online in the next month or so.
Now, is this the thing I think I saw? Did I see the beginning of
So
that?
that was another piece. I have the
Oh,
piece
okay.
that she did. She just made a wonderful recording. This is a piece called "Suite for Solo Violin" that she
Mm.
made. So if you can just Google Andrew List on YouTube and it'll come up. And but it's the same musician. So we always wanted to work together. So this was like
Yes.
the first thing, and now I'm writing her a special piece just for her.
She's terrific. I really enjoyed that. So what I will do is to put your list your information and your YouTube site and your SoundCloud and all that so people can go and listen because I strongly encourage you to check it out. It's one thing to hear someone talk about their work, and then it's another thing to actually hear it. And so I'm going to make sure to offer that to our viewers. But you also said something that really made my day because, as you may know, I myself have been working on this trance piano thing. I'm going into trance and then improvising. Being a jazz musician, I'm much more less a write it down person and more just do it person. And so I've been going into the trance state and improvising and I have been feeling very strongly the presence of various jazz musicians.
Oh,
And
wow.
I was shy to mention it because it felt like, some kind of ego trip, to say, well, who do you think you are that, someone as lofty as a Bill Evans or Louis Armstrong would actually come to visit you. But you said something there, and I do feel that we are inspired, and that if we are able to reach up, that there is all kinds of help available from beings who maybe in their earth life did the kind of thing that we aspire to do.
Mhm.
And they certainly were and remain role models and teachers for us on earth. So why wouldn't they, with sincere intent, why wouldn't we be able to access that wisdom if we're meditating? So I'm really glad that you spoke about that. And it leads me to another point, which is that feeling that we are always connected to so much more than we maybe are consciously aware of. And I wonder if you could maybe talk about that a little bit in your own life as you're working, that connection that you feel with the spirit world, but also at the same time needing to have the technical. I guess this is my point. We
Mhm.
need to balance the both sides, both technical ability as a musician, for example. I'm sure you've spent many years studying your instrument, studying composition, et cetera, balancing that skill set, which might be considered the right brain or whatever, that logic brain
Mhm.
piece, with this inspiration piece, and somehow making a whole out of both. Does that make sense to you? I'd love for you to
Totally.
talk
No,
about
no.
that.
Because I mean, you really have hit it on the nail on the head. I mean, I've studied. I went to New England Conservatory. I got my PhD at Boston University, but that was a while ago now. And just working hard, learning, studying, looking what other composers do, listening. Of course, everybody has talents, no matter what you're doing, and some kind of natural ability and trial and error. And the more I write, the better it gets. But
Mm-hmm.
also, I feel that it's moved up a notch because the spirit world, and I think the universe and God really wants me to be the mouthpiece for something beautiful. And I've accepted that role in a humble way, of course. I'm not out there tooting my horn. It's a very personal thing because I really feel like I'm a heart-centered person and my music is very heart-centered. And if you can't elevate humanity and you can't bring love and joy and even humor to the picture, I feel like that's anyway my role. So I feel very much in an somewhat altered state when I'm working.
Yes.
I hear things. They'll tell me, for example, flute, clarinet, louder, softer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then I get stuck. All of a sudden, it's like when it's flowing, it goes well. I'll go away from the piano and I'll be doing something, and I know this sounds crazy, but I hear, go back to the piano. The minute I go back, Carolyn, boom, everything just comes out.
Gotcha.
And so I feel very grateful. I think, and there's another word that I have to say, trust. Because, when you hear something in your head, a lot of times it's in my own voice. So I've learned to trust in myself, in creativity. I don't always know if it's going to be good or not. When all the negative things come in, I say, no, this isn't about judgments. As an artist, we have to put judgments away.
Yes.
You write down what you can write down, you put it down, and then you go back and you work on it. You use your technique and your inspiration, and it's like a light touch. You have to feel like you have to hold the pen lightly. You can't hold it tightly. You can't, you know, you're driving, but there's also some kind of, it's many people have a feeling of inspiration, and you have a feel that, intuitiveness. If you don't, it's sometimes a lack of trust, just I feel like I want to go somewhere today. When you say I feel like, or it seems right that I'm supposed to do this. I felt like going out with my girlfriends, and then I met some wonderful person, or I found some money on the ground, or whatever.
Right.
So basically, I'm working in tandem with my energy, the energy of the beautiful spirits that are around me, and even if I don't know what it is, it feels it's coming through. So I'm happy, right?
Oh, that is beautiful. Well, thank you so much. And amazingly, we have come to the end of
Oh wow,
our
so
little
quickly.
conversation. It's been a great pleasure to talk with you. I am going to put up your links. One last little opportunity for you to tell the people, do you have any? I know we hardly have live events anymore, but are you doing any appearances either in churches or with your music in the next few months? This is probably going to be airing in early April. Is there anything coming up for you in the spring that you'd like to share?
Well, there will be some concerts online,
Nice.
probably at the end of April, but I will list them on my website. You can go to my website, andrewlist.com. As a spiritualist, I'm doing a service on March 7th at 6:30 p.m. at the Onset Church in Onset, Massachusetts.
Oh, it's gorgeous. Is that the little wigwam place?
There's another church. I do the wigwam in the summer, so I
Oh,
will be
okay.
at the. If you want to come down to Onset, it's 50 minutes from Boston. It's a beautiful place. I'm going to be doing it on Zoom still because things still aren't so open. But the wigwam will be doing the Onset wigwam. You can Google it. Does their services outside.
Oh, okay. So definitely not now. But
Right
how
now, things are a little.
exciting.
Yeah, but if you want to hear some new of my newer music, the sites and different places that you'll list will be places people can go.
Awesome. Well, Andrew, I'm so appreciative that you took the time to hang out with me today in the Psychic Playroom. And there you have it, people. You can see why he is a very popular and sought after teacher, composer, and spiritualist medium. Thank you so much for being my guest today,
You're
Andrew.
welcome. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I really hope that you enjoyed that interview. I find him just to be an amazingly inspiring person, and his music is super. I know that you're going to enjoy it. Please go and check out Andrew's website, and you can also find things on his YouTube channel. And yes, I was really happy to be able to sit with him today, and I hope that you enjoyed the program as well. As always, if you have questions, comments, concerns, or you would like a reading live on the next edition of Carolyn's Psychic Playroom, by all means write me. You can write me at psychicplayroom@gmail.com, or you can drop me a note at my website, carolynwilkins.com. All right, everyone, have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thoughts are things with the energy to make life better for you and for me. Touch the light.